Hello and welcome back. It's I still have the shock dilemma, which was in the previous video. I ordered some shocks and I'll talk about that in another video, but this one, it's snowing outside now and now I can't open the back door to finish up bolting on the rear handles and everything, so I'll show that in another video. But this one I'm going to start moving to the front axle and start doing this kind of work now. So the first thing I need to do is change the drive flange. I already put a new seal in it, but as I had to order new parts, more parts, I just ordered 2 of these. The new drive flange, which the seal rides on. I'll show you that in a little bit. And then the mud shield that pounds onto here. So this piece pounds onto there, so I'm going to put that onto there and take off the old one. But first, one thing that you have to do, well, you don't have to do it, but I did it. But you get, I think this is a 2x2 or 1.5 by 1.5 piece of angle iron, and drill a hole 2 inches apart, 3/8 hole with some 3/8 bolts, and then you grind out a little bit of space so you could take off the flange, the nut on the flange. I'll show you. I'm going to bolt this up now and I'll show you how I take it off. Okay, here we are underneath the truck. You can see I put the angle iron on there with 2 bolts. It comes over, it holds itself in place. Then you got a 1-inch socket. Stick it on there. And you can put a wrench on there and turn it as hard as you want to get that off. So then you'll take the nut off and then the flange just slides right off. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I loosened the nut, and this is also at 85 foot-pounds, so it's on there pretty tight. So to have that little angle to help keep the flange in place is very helpful, because I had to crank on it pretty hard to get that to turn. So you turn it, take that off, and it should just pops right out. And before, when I had the axle out and all on the ground, actually not in the truck, I already put a new seal in here. And in my stupidity, I didn't replace the hub, but I did polish up the place where the seal rides. So it could have been okay, but I'm going to keep this as an extra for just in case if I ever need one. So I'm going to reuse the washer and the nut on the new flange. So I'm going to go get the new flange put together. I have the mud guard. This is the old one. Here's the new one from Bearmach. Part number, you can see it right there. So here is another reason why this little cheapy axle tool comes in handy. So you put that on top of here and use a block of wood and a sledgehammer, and you hammer the mud guard right on, because they're actually 2 separate parts, the mud guard. And the mud guard is part number, there you go, mud shield. Okay, so another reason why this axle nut tool is useful, because it was actually big enough to fit around this pretty easily. Okay, so I'm going to go put this on and torque it down to 85 foot-pounds. Alrighty. I have the front flange on, torqued, and I put a cotter pin in it, and then I double checked the rear one too, and it was at the right torque, and I put the cotter pin in that one. So drive axles are both done, and I made some room over here, so now I'm going to start taking apart the worn hubs. I got worn hubs, freewheel hubs on here, which were original to the truck, and then I already did the brakes, put seal drums on and put brake lines on, and I already put a new seal back here on the original. Amazingly, the original balls, whatever the hell them are, seal balls or whatever, the pivot balls or whatever, were still perfect. There's the chromes on them was perfect. So I already did the axle, cleaned it up, put new bolts here, new seal in here, new seals here and there, and it's all greased up. I didn't put new was that Riho bushings or whatever up in here, because they're still pretty good or whatever. There's nothing wrong with them. and they're still actually at the, what is it, 8 pounds or whatever to pull that across. So that's pretty much there. So I have the brakes already done. So I'm going to start taking this apart. I'm going to replace the bearings inside is the next step. Alrighty, I'll be back. Alright, I just got the freewheeling hub off. You can see how nasty that is inside. But look at this. This is what happens whenever a bearing sits for 25 years in a field. Look how muddy. How the rust is just all inside of there. And whenever I took it off, it was dripping down and coming out, because when I did the hub parts back here, I kind of cleaned and sprayed out the bearings area from this side. And kind of cleaned it up and everything and squirted some oil inside there just so it wasn't sitting there dry. But they're actually, they don't feel loose or nothing. And they actually spin pretty good. But look at that nastiness. All that goo. Ugh. So I'll be taking this all apart, cleaning it up, and I'll show you back on the workbench whenever I'm changing the bearings. But I just wanted to see you as soon as I took that out. Look how nasty that is. Whew. Alrighty. Okay, so I got both sides taken apart. Both hubs. Both the brake drums are there. They need wire wheeled and cleaned. I cleaned up all the bolts and nuts and everything for the hub. And here are the brake backing plates, the hubs, which I'm going to talk about some more later. And then I'll show you to change those the seal rings on those, on the stub axles. And now I'm at the workbench. Here are the hubs. I cleaned them all up, wire wheeled them. That's okay, that rust inside there is just surface rust. And plus I'm going to be replacing the races in here. So this is what I'm going to try and do now. So it's all wire wheeled. And you can see here, these are the bolts that hold the drum on. And this one I actually had to drill out because it broke and I couldn't get the screwdriver on there. So what I'm going to do, old welding trick, I'm going to try welding this on to here, fill it with weld, get it nice and hot, and then turn it off with a wrench. So let me see if I can do that, or maybe I'll set it up for the welding part. So I got the little piece out that was down in the retainer for the retainer screw for the drum. Got that out. So what I had to do is I actually welded a little bit on there, welded around, turned it with the piece of angle iron and turned it. I tried doing the nut on there and it wouldn't weld to the bolt and the nut would not weld to each other. So I did a little weld on top of the piece that was stuck in there. So then I used that weld to weld it to the angle iron, and then I spun it with the angle iron. So it was a bit of a pain in the butt, but it worked. It got it out. So I cleaned up where I was screwing around and messed up things there a little bit, but that's all right. So now that's done. So these are good. That's good to go. So let me see here. What should I do? I should probably start painting everything. So I'm going to clean up all these pieces and parts. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to knock out this race, get these races out of here for the new bearings. Then I'm going to take the seal spacer pieces off of these stub axles. Alrighty, I'll be back. Okay, so I got the bearing races out of the hubs. And this is how I do it. Instead of doing it on a workbench and shaking everything, I have a block of wood. It's just a 4x4 or a 6x6. I'm not really sure. So what I do is I'll just take a punch and a hammer on the block of wood here. So then I'm not shaking my workbench like crazy. And then I'll put it in there like that. And just start tapping them. Go there, tap there. Then I'll tap here. Tap there, just keep working your way around and the race will slowly tap its way through. So I got the races out of both sides, this side and the other side. Again, just doing the exact same thing, tapping them out on that block of wood so I'm not shaking my workbench like crazy. Okay, so the next thing, spacer piece on the the drive flanges. Okay, what I'm talking about with the axles, the drive axles here, is this piece right here. It's called a spacer piece, and you can see how there's rust on it, and then there's a clean spot, and then rust again. So this is where the axle seal for all your fluids and stuff like that, it keeps inside so it doesn't leak out through past the flange here. So this starts to rust and get dirty, so it needs to be replaced. So when you look at it, you think, well, that's actually part of that, it looks like. But you kind of see there, see the little crack? It's actually a ring that is heated up and put on here. So the key to replace that is, while it's on, this one I already got it off. So you drill 2 holes with a 1/8 drill, drill 2 holes, and you take a chisel and you pound down on the ring with this real sharp chisel, and what they call is a cold chisel. So you actually hit it, and what it deforms it enough here so then it can be lifted up off. And again, I used a block of wood. I angle it, the drive. Let me show you with the actual drive here. What I do is I'll just angle this onto here on the corner of it. And again, I can just hammer it with a chisel and right into where these holes are. So there it is. And all you do is you just pound it. And then here's the one here. I drilled it and I hit it with a chisel a few times. And you'll see here. It just pops and slides right off. But this material is a real soft material, that it's not hardened or anything, so a drill bit goes in there pretty easy. So there's the gook that I was talking about. It always has the nastiest stuff inside there. The grease kind of sits in there. It kind of makes a seal also as it's heated up and stays on there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up these surfaces on both of these, and then I'll heat up the ring and put it on. Well, that was a major pain in the butt. Just the same as the rear stub axles. One side went on, piece of cake, slid right down. I just did a couple taps just to make sure it's in there. This side went down and it stopped about in the middle. So I had to heat it up again and pound it all the way down, around, down until it hit to the base. So these guys are now done with the new seal pieces. So we're going to move on to hanging these up and getting ready for a prime and paint. All right. Okay, so I got the dry flanges and the caps painted up. And then what I do is I put a piece of masking tape over top of this, so whenever I paint it, it doesn't go down into these threads here where the drive shaft goes in there. So I put a little tape on there. Also do it on the back side as well. Put some tape. So I got some paint on there. Caps are painted flat black. These, I did a very light coat of paint. A gasket gets on this side. This side, the brake drum pushes up against here, and then the seal rides on here that's in the bushing. So there's actually no protection right here from anything. So I just put a very, very light coat of flat black Rust-Oleum on there. I didn't put any on this side. So those are all painted up. Then I got brake drums. And normally I do everything flat black, but I had gloss paint sitting around, so I just used gloss paint there. And then the wheel hubs, they're all done. Again, I taped the front, and I taped the lug nuts, and I taped the back side of them, the front and the backs, so no paint goes in. So the next video will be putting all the brake stuff back together, and I need to do some new brake lines. I'll be talking about that as well. And so this is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching and following along with the adventures of the Land Rover. Thank you for sharing, liking, and commenting. Much appreciated. Oh, I also painted the whatever, the axle parts or whatever. There, I also painted those all black too, flat black. Oh, and also the tie rods. Those are all primed and painted as well. So next video I'll be putting more things together. So thank you again for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting. You guys are great. Have a good one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.